So let's talk about one of my favorite topics, the failure of California and LA government specifically. What really just bothers me about them is, it's one thing to have good intentions and wanted to help people, wanted to help the homeless, but at the same time, it's like their stubborn ideology. Wasn't the leader of Singapore said something that you can't just be stuck into one ideology. You have to see what works and then do that. And if it doesn't work, you have to change your mind. But they're very practical. But California and the progressivisms, they're like, it's so ideological, it's so rigid, it's so Marxist in a way that they can't change course. Or they're having, some more sensible people are trying to make, trying to warn people that, hey, this is not working. We gotta try a different approach here. But they're hitting the head up against a brick wall over and over and over again. And the homeless problem, it keeps getting worse. The taxes keep getting higher, and more businesses are fleeing Los Angeles. I really like this article. Is titled "No Wonder California Taxes Are So High." LA spends up to 840,000 per apartment for homeless as part of $1.2 billion program. Rough sleeping population climbed to 41,000. I already knew that. I already talked about it. The Some of the prices are astronomical. I mean, as an aside, there is a big building. It used to be a Sears mailing warehouse in East LA, like an abandoned Sears building. And the owner, he's known for redeveloping high-end lofts. And I saw the rendering that he did. Amazing, beautiful, super high-end offices and high-end lofts. But because of, I guess, some tussle, some problem with the city of LA, they wanted him to repair the streets around it, or for whatever reason, I'm not 100% sure. It got delayed and delayed and delayed. But now, I see he came out. This guy's a shrewd businessman. And he came out and saying this is going to be a homeless shelter. I kid you not. This is like the biggest square footage, square footage parcel in all of LA, and it has like this gigantic building, the abandoned Sears warehouse. It used to be, it's like how like Amazon has like giant warehouses. Well, that's like back in the mail order days. The Sears Roebuck Company. Well, that's just like a giant warehouse full of like packages and stuff being shipped. And instead of going to high-end office, he was going to the homeless shelter. And at first you're thinking like, wow, why would he lose money? He'd make so much money on this luxury. But then, oh no, wait a minute. He's in on, he's a shrewd businessman. He understands how lucrative this is going to be. He can sell these units at $1 million plus, even like regular, if you would just give it to, sell to like high-end hipsters or whatever, high-income hipsters, they would not be able to afford this. The government would pay a lot more money for like a smaller unit. So he sees the scam. He's trying to capitalize on it. Now, ironically too, it was they're trying to solve this. I think right now this article says 40,000. I hear anywhere from 60,000 homeless people in LA. And when you look at these price tags, it's like there's no way they're gonna build a $1 million unit for every single one of those homeless people. And of course, obviously, if they just don't have dictatorial, but first of all, they won't have enough money. The taxes that they're pulling from the Measure HHH that the voters passed is actually counterproductive because it's making housing more expensive. For every new unit that gets built, it's like a certain a dollar or whatever a couple dollars tax per square footage. So the part of the homeless problem is it's like a vicious cycle. The homelessness problem is because there aren't enough cheap units. There aren't enough cheap units because the middle and the upper income people are displacing. They're outbidding the poor people for the units and to build more units while they have these high taxes. But anyway, so out of 41,000 that this article claims, but I think it's a lot more, they built 1,200 units. Now, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really impressed. I mean, I'm surprised they even built 1,200 units. I thought they would have like 10 by the crazy corruption and the dysfunction of the LA government. I'm surprised they actually built any, and they completely didn't squander the money on like critical race theory studies or like their cronies, the consultant fees for like their cronies and kickbacks for politicians or whatever. They actually have some stuff to show for it, but I mean, it's crazy. Everything about it, it's so messed up. I mean, providing somebody one unit, that's one thing, but a lot of those people, it's a small amount of people that actually need the unit, really. They actually need mental care and be institutionalized. Well, America can't, or the U.S. can't institutionalize anybody anyway against their will. So it's there. And then on top of that, what's even more problematic is that the people politically, they wouldn't even want to force, like, they wouldn't even want to have like a tough love discipline of like institutionalizing somebody or putting somebody in rehab against their will or throwing somebody in jail. They think it's almost like a religious conviction, to where maybe if somebody's deeply religious and he sees the suffering around the world, like Mother Teresa or something like that, and they're like, well, people deserve it because they sinned, right? So the progressives have the same mentality. We are sinners because we have this capitalism, we have this white supremacy and this and that, and all this should be in plain view, like the suffering, the open air drug markets, people sleeping on the street, the Skid Row everywhere. Well, because we're so racist and because of this, whatever, we're not living up to all peak socialism, peak Marxism. Then that means regular people, middle class and upper class people should suffer and should have to look at this, at the suffering. So it's almost by design anyway. It's not like they're actually actively thinking about creative and different ways to solve the problem, which in my opinion would be, you can't house everybody in the most expensive. You can't house half of the country's homeless population in the most expensive city in the world. I mean, why can't other cities? I mean, there should be a program where you ship people to a lower cost city. That would only make too much sense. So LA is spending $837,000, $100,000 on a house for its homeless part of $1.2 billion project of the region's sprawling homeless population. Proposition HHH, which intended to build housing for estimated of 41,000 homeless people in the city, has seen about 1,200 units, much of which are studio one-bedroom apartments completed since voters approved spending in, oh my God, 2016. How many years is that already? 6 years? In 6 years, they built 1,200 units? And it's not like they're ramping up. I mean, if they everywhere they want to build a unit, there's here's another problem. Everywhere they're trying to build, I don't exactly know whose fault it is, but residents can just stop any project from being built. So if the government wants to build a shelter somewhere, well, the citizens on that neighborhood, the NIMBYs, can shut it down. So, I mean, the problems are stacking up one after another. Now an audit has found 14% of the units built exceeded $700K each, and one project pre-development is estimated to cost almost $840K per unit. The opulent complex tabled Vermont and Manchester were both 62 units designed from homeless applicants, as well as a slew of trendy shops, 6,000 square foot restaurant, pedestrian plaza. Outline for the project posted online. Company behind Complex reveals. So yeah, I mean, I wish I was a developer in LA and I had just like giant buildings. I mean, the amount of money, the cost of these units versus how much they can sell to the government. I'm sure the profit margins are thick. And yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying. How realistic is to house 41,000 homeless people in a complex this new and beautiful? Oh, and by the way, I mean, haven't we learned anything from public housing? I mean, they're built nicely now, but who's going to pay for the maintenance? Because if history is any guide, it's the budgets will keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking because the government will because once something is built, the government can't take credit for maintaining it well. Nobody's going to get reelected for that. So I'm pretty sure the money is going to be siphoned off and done for something else a politician can brag about. And these buildings are going to get more and more dilapidated and maybe just turn into just horrible slums. We shall see. So we're talking about this. Look at this picture. It's way, way, way better than 99% of them. I mean, it's not luxurious by any means, but it's a lot better than most people are living in, not only in LA, but around the country. And there is no plan that you can't. Hey, how about we house 5,000 people here, and the rest? Hey, we can't house all these homeless people here. We're gonna we're gonna fund a program to where we build some housing in Oklahoma for $50,000 a unit, or Tennessee or something, right? Why does everybody have to be housed by the beach on Venice? There are already 1,200 units online providing critical housing and services, and HHH will deliver over 10,000 units of supportive and affordable housing by 2026. By that time, we'll have homelessness on every sidewalk. John Mercy, Chief Executive of the People Concerned, one of LA's largest nonprofits serving the homeless, agreed that with overall funding, that their city needs to build housing faster and cheaper. Yeah, you don't think. Just the basic numbers. Well, I mean, why is there not a meeting that, hey, I know California or LA has a lot of red tape, and these last 5 projects we built, the units are almost $1 million a pop. We can't do that. How about all hands on deck here? We invite architects from around the country and lawyers and zoning experts, and we give out these grants to who can design the cheapest per unit housing for homeless or something, some kind of competition. I mean, that's how the Scandinavians do it, right? I thought these guys were the Scandinavia was the total model for the progressives here. No, this is a very common sight. Looks like a third world war torn country with just a bunch of like a post-apocalyptic, just a bunch of RVs with the people's urine and feces just being washed down into the gutters. Housing has not kept pace with the urgency of the unsheltered homeless crisis. The audit arrives at a time when homelessness is a dominant issue in the city's mayoral election, with a large field of candidates promising to do more on an issue that has placed LA in an unwelcome national spotlight. Sagging tents, rusting RVs, and makeshift structures used by homeless people to have become familiar sights from Hollywood to Venice Beach, and even in the shadow of City Hall. I mean, what about some practical measures? Like, you just can't camp out here. But no, we're gonna let everybody camp out here and let the whole city degrade to Skid Row until everybody gets $1 million home housing unit. Oh, and the supportive assistance or whatever that they need as well to even stay in that unit. LA, the audit said the HHH project included 8,000 housing units, most within connected services for mental health, substance abuse treatment, spread across 125 projects, about 4,200 in construction. Other funds outside the HHH program are being used for another 2,000 units. The audit singles that a fresh approach and billions more in spending will be needed in the future. While future plans have not been finalized, building tens of thousands of additional units using the same model will likely cost billions of dollars. Well, that's, yeah, duh, just basic math. And will take far too long to match the urgency of the ongoing homeless emergency, the audit concludes. And that's the same people that want the government to run all of healthcare. It's like you don't have to be a genius. Only rub two brain cells together to understand that. Oh, well, the government has overpromised. It's underdelivering, costing way too much money. So what's going to happen with the government provided health care? Well, the same thing. There's going to be lines. You can't get care. There's a huge shortage. Taxes are through the roof. And on top of that, if you actually want to see a doctor, you have to pay your own money anyway. It urged the city to find ways to scale up faster and cheaper projects. So, most serious problems in LA, according to a census. According to a poll, homelessness, 73%. Housing affordability, 61%. Traffic, climate change, and air quality. Okay. Yeah. It's illegal to camp on Venice Beach, and we want that message established by enforcement of the rules that exist. Really? I'm sure. Think of some court rule that you can't even touch a homeless person's like multiple shopping carts, which is such weird tyranny. I've known multiple people that got $100 ticket by jaywalking downtown, but you can be defecating in the middle of the street. But if you're homeless and pushing some carts and with like broken down metal, well, they can't do anything to you because is it based on the left, social hierarchy, the oppression Olympics. Comments came as poll conducted by the LA Times found that in 10 Los Angeles residents cited the city's homelessness problem as a main cause for feeling unsafe in their communities, which is one in five people saying they would consider moving to escape the problem. Earlier this month, self-proclaimed old school junkie who moved from Texas to San Francisco because it's fucking easy to be homeless here claimed he was being paid by the city government to live on the street. Yeah, I'm sure that paying people $600, paying homeless drug addicts $600 a month to live there. Oh yeah, that's going to attract a lot of them.